Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. Looks like we are good. So welcome everybody, official welcome everybody to the July board meeting of KFNA, the Kingfield Neighborhood Association Board. Looks like we are ready to go and have a quorum. So thank you for everybody for joining us. Meeting is going to be kind of a mixture of discussion items and some kind of administrative stuff, as this is really our first meeting of our new, I guess we're going to call it maybe the 2021-2022 board, considering it's July right now. So our 2021-2022 board. So 3 new board members. So kind of some work to introduce new board members while also kind of figuring out where we work with committees and some different items. And then also kind of talking about what the rest of the year looks like for us. So that's kind of the rough agenda. BJ, if it's possible, I usually ask Sarah to do this, but she is not here. If you could, if BJ or somebody wants to just throw the agenda in the chat very quickly. I do see we have someone coming on right now. That would be very, thank you, BJ.
So that's the whole board packet, and in there is the agenda.
Thank you, BJ. So at the top of our meetings, what we always do is a community forum. As I always say, all of us are community members. So if anyone would like to share anything now, we'll also have an opportunity at the end of the meeting to share as well too. It does look like we do have somebody coming on that I am not. Laura, if you are available and wanted to speak to the board, this would be a good time to do that now. I also will just say, as Laura looks like she is getting connected, we do have open meetings or fairly open meetings. So letting and kind of inviting our residents and people who live in the neighborhood or people who want to come to the meetings to speak and engage and be a part of the meetings as well as board members. So I don't believe we're voting on anything tonight. So that would be the only kind of exclusive board member board kind of item. David, did you have something?
Aren't we voting for officers?
Oh, we're voting for officers. You're right. Yeah, thank you. So we are voting for something. We're voting for officers. So that would be just an exclusive board item. So I will kind of open it up now to the community forum. If anybody would like to speak on any things happening in the community or address the board in any way.
I will just bring up a matter because I know that it was a topic in the Facebook group, which might be why Laura is here, though I'm not quite sure who Laura is. There has been some questions by Mark Waller, who used to serve on the board, about how we can have a more inclusive national night out that's not focused on crime and safety. I had mentioned that the board would be talking about National Night Out tonight, and he posted some of the materials that are for the alternative National Night Out format, I'm sorry, the name of which I can't recall right now. But I'll look it up before we get to that part of the conversation. So, and then Chris, just a reminder, the other thing we should do is introductions, since people here don't know each other.
Awesome. I'll leave the community forum open here for a second, then we can jump to kind of introductions and official call to orders. Okay, awesome. So we'll move on to the next agenda item. And again, Laura, if you're getting signed on right now and you would like to speak or address the board when you get all connected, or if you just like to kind of hang out and listen, that is all totally fine. So please jump in whenever you're ready, or yeah, let us know if there's anything you'd like to talk about. So quickly doing introductions, as we do have 3 new board members. Maybe do a little bit more of kind of a robust introduction. Maybe let's actually do a quick approval of the agenda and the consent agenda for tonight quickly. So could I get a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the agenda for tonight, the June minutes, and Sarah, can you explain to me what, I didn't add this in here, what the June addendum is? You're on mute, Sarah.
That was the e-vote.
The e-vote.
And the voting results.
Got it. Okay. So the e-vote that happened and then the voting results. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you for.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, thumbs up, yeses, opposed, and abstentions. That carries. So thank you. Quickly, we can do introductions since we do have 3 new board members. And I guess I am gonna ask maybe the board members to quickly do an introduction after this. So maybe let's start with kind of existing board members, and then I would like new board members to kind of, I know you did some introductions at the last board meeting kind of with the election, but maybe even just tell a little bit more about yourself. So maybe if you want to call on the next person, we can start with existing kind of our board members who have been on the board in the past, and then we'll jump to some of our new board members. So Chris DeRoche, I am, my role in the organization is a board member and also as the board chair, the board president. I live on the 4400 block of Grand, and I he, him pronouns. I'm going to call on BJ.
Hey everyone, my name is BJ. I live at 38th and 1st. I use he, him pronouns. I'm currently the secretary of the board. And I'm going to call on L'Oreal, who I saw for the first time in real life, walking my dog this week.
Yeah, that was great. Hi, I'm L'Oreal. I use she, her pronouns. I'm on 40th and Harriet. And I'm an old board, well, not old, but I'm a board member. Josh, oh, sorry, we're doing old. Becky.
Hi, I'm Becky. I'm on the 4000 block of Garfield, she, her pronouns. How about David?
Hey everybody, I'm David Robbins. I live on 44th and Wentworth. I use he, him pronouns. And I met BJ's dog for the first time. Like, what was it, 3 weeks ago or something? So there you go.
You calling somebody, David?
Sorry, all calling Alice. My bad.
It's all right, David. I'm Alice Johnson. I use she, her pronouns. I live on the 4300 block of Grand, which has been entertaining the last few months. And I'm returning for another term. It's on the board for 2 years. I was the treasurer last. And now we need new board, Josh.
Okay,
You're-
I'm Josh Martin. I have lived in Kingfield since 2019. I live on the 4400 block of Harriet. I've been here a few times before. It's my first time as a board member, so it's exciting. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else in particular you want from me, but happy to be here.
Maybe do you just want to share? Maybe this is the other, both for Todd and Brighton too. Like, what do you want to get out of being on the board? Both like what you want to like put into it, what you want to accomplish, and then what you kind of want to get out of it, both personally. And sorry for not prepping you on these questions, but that's
Sure. So I think recently I've looked for ways to get more involved in the community and community groups. I ended up meeting a few people associated with the board and doing some work with them, and it seems like a good organization supporting the mission of helping out the people in our neighborhood. I've already started to get involved in some of the election stuff since I have some and the charter things since I have some background in rules and whatnot through my parliamentary work. So I hope to be able to help out in our advocacy mission for an education mission for those things. And I guess what I hope to get out of it personally is, you know, I used to be involved in things like this. I was in student government and stuff like that when I was in college, and I haven't done a lot of things like that since. It was something I really enjoyed then, and I think something that's been missing now. So it's be good to do things like that again. That's all I've got.
Todd, do you want to go next?
You bet. You bet. Todd Shipman here. I use he, him pronouns. I live at the corner of 38th and Lindale. I am on the Kingfield cusp over here on the west side, and look over East Farmstead, and try to engage myself on the other side of Lindale when I can, and just because I can't help myself. And I have some good neighbors over there. You know, this is a great experience, I think, for everybody that's been here. I'm sure has had one. And for me personally, this is just about, you know, kind of you are where you live, you know, and building community. And I'm a guy that's out in the community all the time. I want to know my neighbors. It adds peace of mind to me, and it helps my neighbors to know that, you know, we have some representation here and they can have a voice also. And so I like that piece. I mean, personally, my personal goal for this is, and what I hope to see this organization is to make sure we're a sustainable organization. And that means, you know, kind of everything from, you know, not only the mission and vision, but also our revenue and income. And I want us to be successful at this. And you have been, and certainly Sarah does a fantastic job. I'm impressed every time I cross paths with her or see the communications that come from her. And so I think I'm looking forward to a lot of success for this neighborhood. And, you know, I'm excited for the next, you know, the growth period here, and for the people that are here. And we do good work. We help sustain and support those people that are less fortunate probably than we are. And I like diversity and inclusion. And I want to see my neighbors evolve with, you know, healthy, happy, and I want to see their kids evolve too. So it's a win-win. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me. It'll be fun.
Thanks, Todd.
Oh, and I'll pass it to who's left.
Me.
There you are.
Hi, I am Brighton McCormick. I live on 37. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. I live on 37th Street in between Nicollet and Blaisdell. So you walk past my house every time you go to Butter. I joined the board mostly because, I mean, I can kind of echo what Josh and Todd both said. I've been volunteering at the Chicago Fire Arts Center for about the last year. So every week I've been going into the 38th and Chicago space and kind of getting involved with different, more like grassroots, smaller organizations within the community. Again, like Todd was saying, wanting to know the neighborhood a little bit better, wanting to know my neighbors better. And I feel like I have a lot of kind of energy to put into something and wasn't really sure where to put it. So this is kind of like a good way to just, on a very hyper local level, get involved with stuff. My background is in arts nonprofit and event planning. So I have grant writing experience, event planning experience, comfortable talking to my neighbors and like getting to know them. So that's kind of what I want to put in. And then just getting out of it, just helping develop a place. I've kind of settled down in Minneapolis after living a lot of places. And this is where I kind of see my life evolving from here. So just wanting to put work in to make it a place that I want to live and the people around me want to be too. So all of those things. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody, and thank you for sharing. We're excited to have you. I'm excited to have a new board. I'm excited to have kind of some new energy and some new perspective, and hopefully, you know, and kind of really the next thing, you know, one of the things we're going to be talking about today is kind of how kind of new folks slide into our organization and our working groups. And so looking forward to kind of talking to you all about that and figuring out, you know, how kind of we piece into what we are as a working board. So with all of that said, I think officially I'll look for a nod from David Robbins, but I believe officially, according to our bylaws, our board, the new board members are already seated, and therefore, you know, they carry through this meeting and are seated. So I would just say welcome and thank you, and welcome to KFNA. So with that said, we'll move on to our kind of next agenda item, which is another administrative item looking at the executive committee election. So for new board members, we have officers, as I believe they're referred to, 13 board members and 4 seats on the board. The president, the chair of the board, the vice president or the vice chair, as some other neighborhood associations call it, the treasurer, and the secretary of the board. We have links to the roles, and I think Sarah has referenced section VE, which actually gets into our bylaws on what those roles, official roles and responsibilities are. I also will say that there are kind of some unofficial roles and responsibilities of these and are kind of open to the individuals that are in them and their strengths, but there are, as that link points to, some kind of official responsibilities of these roles. These are 1-year seats, 1-year terms, and so they are open to any board member. So up until right now, we have 4 officers who are serving, and we will be electing new officers. So what actually has to happen during this election is somebody needs to be nominated. You can nominate yourself, you can nominate other folks for these positions, and then we will vote as board members publicly on these nominations if more than one person is nominated for the position. We do need, according to our bylaws, to fill these positions. So somebody needs to step into each one of these roles. I will also say, I will do a quick just pitch here because Sarah T is not here. Sarah's currently serving as the vice president. Sarah and I have been talking a little bit about this for a while. I've been serving as the president, I believe now for about 3 years. Sarah for I believe about 1.5 years, 2 years, BJ is giving me. And so we feel this isn't, I've really enjoyed my time. I think Sarah feels the same way, but this isn't a role that that I feel like I need to be in forever. And I think Sarah feels the same way. And so we would love to see new folks step into these roles as kind of the executive committee of the board. And so understanding that with 3 new board members and a decent amount of board members who are fairly new, this might not be the exact time that we want to do it, but I would just encourage folks, if you want to run, or if you want to be the president, vice president, secretary, I don't want to speak for Alice and BJ who are secretary and treasurer right now, but if you want to fill these roles, please step up and do them. Or, over the next year, I would love to transition or work with someone who wants to be in the president's role to transition that role, step down, and then move that position to someone else who's interested. And after speaking with Sarah, she feels the same way as well too for the vice president's role. So I will just say that since Sarah's not here, and I want to make it clear that these are open positions. If you're interested in any of them, please do them, and we would love to have people, especially new folks, fill these roles. So any questions on the executive committee roles or what we're doing right now as a board? Sarah.
I don't think that you mentioned, so the way that the executive committee has been working for the past year is to have on a Zoom meeting in between board meetings that basically sets the agenda for the upcoming meeting, and sometimes hashes out additional issues or talks in depth about other issues or concerns or directions of the neighborhood association, but its primary job has been to set the agenda to make sure that we're doing engaging and inclusive meetings at the board level. Those have been typically during the day with this current executive committee, sort of in whatever fits people's schedules.
I would add to that, and Sarah Cheetah led this very well. We also helped coordinate, and I think Sarah and Chris gave the performance review to Sarah LR, And so that's the process that the executive committee is also a little more involved with than the board. And so many months, actually, there's been 2 meetings in between. So there's been a meeting shortly after, so we can talk about anything that has happened at the last meeting, as well as then setting another meeting beforehand. But obviously that will change with the new executive committee.
Yeah.
And then if I can also add, sorry, Chris, and this is a new idea, and it is in the agenda, that by taking on some of these officer positions, you are also then dictating which working group of the board that you will serve on. We are making sure that those officers are not the leaders of that, in an interest to diversify the leadership of the organization. But for example, if you want to be president, you are automatically on strategic planning. So if you really want to be involved in recruitment, then don't run for president. So, and those are detailed in the agenda.
And then the only other thing that I would add that I just think was alluded to a little bit is, the executive committee has in the past had, and this will maybe change a little bit with our current bylaws, but, especially during the uprisings, our executive committee was the place where, in all honesty, a lot of decisions and quick decisions were made about, how we were going to operate, what we were going to be doing, what the messages we were going to be putting out were. And so there was a 3-month period where it was very busy for the executive committee, but that I think is a pretty unique scenario. So it also kind of is oftentimes the most direct route for some of those more emergency and quick situations that need to happen. So kind of give you a holistic picture of that. So any other questions or comments on the kind of executive committee and those officer positions? We can do these in any order. And so I guess I would like to, if there's anyone who would like to nominate anyone or nominate themselves, we can just take these in any order if that's okay.
And Sarah and Chris, was there anyone who's not attending today that had mentioned they were interested?
Not to me.
Not to me. Yep. I know specifically no. Yeah. So I guess I'll maybe take, I think we've talked about this. I'll maybe take secretary and nominate BJ. BJ, do you want to accept that nomination?
Sure, Chris.
So I just will say BJ's done an amazing job at organizing and being really the organizer of the executive committee, and also as the board with the minutes and everything too. So I believe we need a second on that nomination.
I would second that
Awesome.
for all the reasons that you just said.
Anyone else? Are there any other nominations for secretary? Seeing none, I will take a vote on appointing BJ to another year as serving as the secretary of the board. So all in favor, aye. Yes in the chat. No. And abstentions. That passes. Congratulations, BJ. I will, is anyone interested? I will just throw this out there. Is there anyone interested in the vice president's position? Okay. Then I'm going to nominate Sarah, and since she's not here to accept it, she kind of has to. We've already talked about it earlier today. Any other nominations or discussions for vice president? And when I say Sarah, I should say Sarah Cheetah.
You want someone to second that?
That'd be great. Thank you, L'Oreal.
I second that.
Any discussion on that? Seeing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor, yes, thumbs up. No and abstentions. No, I should say no. And abstentions. Okay, that passes. Thank you, everyone, and congratulations, Sarah. Anyone interested, moving to the next one, moving to treasurer? Anyone interested in serving as the treasurer? Anyone have any questions about treasurer that Alice can answer for them? Alice, are you, I guess I'll nominate Alice. Alice, are you interested in accepting this?
Yes, I would be happy to do this. Again, this is a job that, I don't have a need to do forever, but if this is a way I can contribute, I'm happy to do that.
Thank you, Alice. Can I get a second on the nomination of Alice?
I second that nomination.
Any other nominations for treasurer? Seeing none, we will move to discussion, which is kind of nominations. All in favor, yes, thumbs up, or yes in the chat. Awesome. No, and abstentions. Okay, that passes. And the last one is president. Anyone interested in serving as president?
No, I'll nominate you though, Chris.
I was hoping you were going to say, yeah, I'll do it. So there's a nomination. Can we get a second?
So moved.
Great. Thank you. Any discussion or other nominations?
Just want to say thank you.
Thanks, Todd. We will take a vote then. All in favor, yes. Noes and abstentions. I'll abstain, I think, for the official record. Okay, so that passes. So that's the election of the executive committee. Thank you very much. And all of my original comments still stand for those folks who are interested in stepping into or even learning about these roles. Or I don't want to speak for the executive committee, but if anyone wants to come to an executive committee meeting, we would love to have you if you want to see how we operate and how we set the agenda. So I guess
people are more than welcome to come to them. They're thrilling.
Yeah, they're wonderful. Yeah, so we would love to have you if you want to see that, or even want to be a part of the kind of how we set agendas and make some of those kind of decisions in off board weeks. Great. Moving on to another kind of administrative item. We've stacked all the administrative stuff at the front of this meeting. Seating of committee assignments and appointment of committee chairs, which we can either do now or we can do kind of when we break out into small groups. So as Sarah LR alluded to, we currently have 3 kind of what we're calling working groups as a part of the board. Planning, strategic planning, recruitment, and fundraising. This kind of came out of, these kind of 3 groups came out of a desire to really have some smaller groups as a part of the board that really have more targeted missions, targeted goals, and are able to work together towards some specific things. So I think this has worked really, really well. It's worked well in having groups focus on some stuff, and also, trying to get every board member involved in at least kind of one initiative as a part of their service on the board. So as Sarah mentioned, there are some kind of key roles that people will be serving. President will be on strategic planning, so that slides me into strategic planning. Vice president will be on outreach, so Sarah T. Treasurer on fundraising, and secretary can serve on any committee, which now continues to be BJ, and BJ is currently sitting on the strategic planning team. I've tried to fill in the roles as I remembered them. So if you're looking at the agenda right now, I tried to do this just really quickly. If I'm missing anybody or if I got it wrong, please change that for me. But these are as the committees currently sit. Anything, Sarah LR, anything you wanted to add or anything I'm missing in an explanation?
We did talk that people should feel free if you've been serving on a working group and want to switch. Now would be a great time to do that. And I thought, Chris, maybe I misunderstood Chris, but I thought that the breakout tonight was to be in these three groups to have an initial conversation. So I think at this point, people have to sort of choose where they want to serve. And then the breakout groups will be formed based on that.
Yep. And my only comment, maybe, and I didn't say this clearly, but was like, if we want to do the appointment of the committee chairs in the bigger group, or if we want to break off into small groups, and then the committees can have those discussions themselves about who they want the committee chair to be.
I would guess the small groups can figure that out.
Perfect.
And then it just, I don't know that we really went through what each of these groups' responsibilities are. So we were making it up last year, I will say that, but strategic planning is really looking at the long-term sustainability of the organization. Right now, they're in the middle of a community survey trying to assess the needs and values of people within the community, which will help the organization modify, tweak the mission statement, and possibly then have a new focus going forward, dovetailing with the fundraising group. One of the current issues that the board faces is a reduction of income from the city of Minneapolis. So that's sort of a lot of what the strategic planning talks about. The fundraising group is talking more the nitty gritty of how do we as a neighborhood association, as a community group, raise funds, get out the message of KFNA to neighbors so that they want to contribute to the organization. That involves end of the year direct mail letter. And could include a variety of campaigns or events throughout the course of the year. Ideally, the goal is to not have a one-hit ask each year, but a couple of different approaches and regular asks and smaller asks, so that people can contribute to what they feel is important. And then the recruitment group is focused largely on the annual meeting and how do we get people interested in running for the board. But I think that one of their other big tasks with hopefully a new hire coming on soon as an equity and justice organizer will be looking at door knocking and engaging with neighbors focused on underrepresented populations within the Kingfield neighborhood and how to recruit them into being involved in the board with a goal of looking at how do we help them move into leadership roles.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah, for that rundown. So I guess I will just open this up now to both our three new board members as of tonight who are not slotted into any spots, and existing board members if there's anybody who feels like they want to kind of move or engage in a different group. I will say that we have four folks right now in recruitment. We have 3 folks in strategic planning and 2 folks in fundraising. So I would also just say as
Chris, we actually have 3 people in fundraising. It's Becky, Alice, and Dave Searle.
Oh, I missed Dave Searle. Sorry. Yep. Okay. So we have 3 people in fundraising too.
And who's in recruitment, Chris?
And please fix me. I just did this off the top of my head, so if I missed anything, it's Sarah T, Jerome, David R, and L'Oreal, correct? Okay.
Correct.
And so I guess, yeah, I'll open it up and say if there's anybody who would like to either move or jump in a group, please do so if there's any questions on the committees. So.
Hey, Chris, who's on strategic planning?
It is currently myself, BJ, and Katie Blanchard, who is going to be joining us here shortly.
Chris, are we trying to have equal numbers in each group? Is that kind of the goal, roughly?
I guess I would open that up to the board to comment on that. I feel like each one of these 3 things ebbs and flows in terms of their their weight and their like the heaviness of the task that they're trying to accomplish. I think, recruitment did a lot of work at the end of last year with the strategic, with the meeting. And then also we had a recruitment process that we went through. So yeah, and then strategic planning is kind of more consistent. So I would say roughly yes, but at the same time, I think that's open to the board to interpret on what the best way to distribute folks into these groups are. Brighton?
I would say I'm personally most interested in the planning committee, but I'm pretty flexible to wherever the need is. So that would be my first choice, but not by a lot.
Chris, are you looking for us to appoint ourselves to?
Yeah, I would say it's an open conversation, but yes, yeah, if you're interested in jumping into a group.
Sure, I'd either jump into strategic planning because I've done a lot of it at a national level, or fundraising is fine with me too. Wherever you can use me the best.
Okay, great, thanks. I'm on mute. Yep, awesome. It's good feedback. And then I guess I'll maybe it open to you, Josh.
Planning's honestly my first choice too, probably followed by recruitment would be my second choice.
Okay. And then I'll maybe open up to existing board members. Is there anyone who's interested in, you won't offend anyone in your group, if anyone interested in switching groups or doing anything slightly different, this upcoming year? Okay. So maybe I've just filled in folks. If Todd, if you are okay going to fundraising,
sure.
That kind of adds some parity to our groups. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It puts 5 people in strategic planning, 4 people in recruitment, and 4 folks in fundraising. If that sounds like a good distribution to the rest of the board, it feels appropriate to me.
Can I say something? So Todd had mentioned that he, did a lot of work with strategic planning. So, could he do that? Josh can take my place in recruitment if he feels that recruitment would be better for him than fundraising. And then I can move to fundraising just to make it more comfortable for everybody else.
I'm flexible either way. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, my experiences with the National Association of Realtors, I've served as chair of their strategic planning committee. For me, it's the bigger picture. And for us here locally, in this organization, it's going to be, I see it's going to be about money and about finding revenue for this organization to continue forward. I'm happy to serve. I'm happy to knock on doors and talk to neighbors and find money too. So whatever that role, whatever you need me to do, we got to make this thing work. So
yeah, I think the difference between strategic planning, one is going to be coming up with the grand plan. Fundraising is going to be more, I think, on the outreach and the event planning and the pitch of it all is the way I see it. The messaging.
Is outreach for recruitment though?
I think all of the 3 committees really have to intersect well too, because I think good fundraising has to be informed by strategic planning, which has to be informed by the community and what the community is looking for and wants, which is outreach. So they all are in my mind, they're all kind of shades of the same thing. So I think strategic planning is very important, but I know fundraising is going to be very, have to intersect very strongly with the strategic plan.
And the only thing I would add is these groups are are fluid in terms of their like goals and like role. And so if we have folks in fundraising who are fitting more into the fundraising in terms of how it like really ties to strategic planning and like fundraising in terms of the big mission, but also the actionable things on the ground, like that's great. Like let's do that, and then strategic planning can focus on, you know, some other things too. So I think we can be flexible in how all this plays out. So you know, it's not set in stone. And I also think too that we can shift folks around, you know, if we feel like we need to do that. So I guess based on kind of L'Oreal's comments, does anyone feel strongly about shifting? Do we want to leave it out how it lays out right now? I guess that's kind of maybe even up to you, Todd, a little bit in terms of where you feel you best fit. So.
Well, I imagine any plan the strategic planning committee drafts is going to get voted on here anyway and discussed, right? So
yeah,
I mean, this all seems to play together. So I'm happy to serve in any capacity, folks. I tend to have a big mouth, and I'll say what I'm thinking anyway. So.
Yeah, I'm flexible too. If you wanted to move me around, I could do whatever.
Chris, I'll leave it up to you.
Okay. Well, I guess, are we good? I would say let's run with with kind of the committee structure that we have right now, if everyone's okay with that. And then as we dig into this more, if we want to move around, please, let's just keep on having that as an open dialogue. And especially with existing board members, you know, as we start digging into this, if anyone wants to jump into anything else, let's keep that open. So I have those kind of committee assignments laid out right now on the agenda. And so kind of the next item that I think was really valuable, if you want to get those ready, Sarah, for the breakouts. I think the next thing that we did when we kind of set these committees originally was kind of did a quick breakout, a 10-15 minute kind of like introduction, talk about what your next steps are, really kind of like meet with people and talk about how you're going to move forward with stuff. And so I would like to do that again now with new board members and kind of our new committees that have formed. So this for folks who haven't been to you're kind of participated in these before, we do breakouts as part of Zoom, go into smaller groups, and then we'll typically come back at a specific time. So it looks like we are right on schedule. And so we will take 10 minutes in our committee breakouts. Sarah, let me know when those are ready, or if you have them ready. And then, yeah, I would say this is committee's time to talk about kind of next steps and where they want to go. So.
My. Hold on, I've never done this way. Usually I just randomly put people in rooms and then I move them.
You can do that too. That's fine.
I could do that.
And so
okay, if anyone ends up in the wrong room, I'll figure it out.
So we will come back at 8, and Sarah, you're going to be able to close rooms at 8, right?
Yeah, what time is it?
It's a little bit before 7:50.
Okay, I think this worked. Okay, we're recording. Okay, so just, do you want to do announcement of who?
Can we do committee chair
Yeah.
announcements and any feedback that any of the groups want to give just really quickly, and then we're going to just talk conflict of interest forms for 1 second. So I guess since I'm talking strategic planning, we appointed Katie. So thank you, Katie, for taking on that role. And we had a very good discussion and are excited for our new board members being on our committee. I will kick it over to recruitment, if that's okay. Someone wants to take that? David?
Yeah, we were at half strength, so we'll get back to you guys on the chair. But so we talked a little bit about wrapping up the annual meeting and kind of takeaways. And one thing I was curious about, if Sarah, LR, or Chris, or does anyone have data on like how many? So we looked up 11 people viewed the annual meeting on YouTube, but do we have any knowledge of how many people voted in the election? Because I was just thinking that would be helpful data for us to know and like gauge our efforts.
132. Sarah, was that
Wow.
right? So it's something like
I
that.
thought it was slightly lower than that.
I have it in an email.
It was triple digits though?
Yes.
All right, well, we were very successful.
That's great.
I'm pleased with that number. It's a fraction of the neighborhood, but good job still.
Yeah, and BJ provided a breakdown of voting for board members and also how many voted to approve the bylaws and how many didn't. And
So I do have it pulled up, Sarah. So 106 people voted for board members. 101 people voted for the bylaws change. Of those 101, 98% of them approved the changes of the bylaws.
Cool.
2% did not. And then for the NRP fund, the plan modification of moving the funds from to support future affordable housing, 103 people voted, 91% voted yes, 9% voted no.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Recruitment, fundraising.
I guess I'll speak up. So the new guy, we voted the chair to be the guy who wasn't here. Somebody's got to tell me his name.
David Searle.
David.
So obviously we'll have to check with him and see if he's willing to do that. But
But,
so we'll get back to you. We'll get back to you.
Love it.
Tossed around some ideas. We're going to schedule a meeting, in-person meeting, and kind of round out some ideas, flush out some ideas for the year, and then think about how that might help support strategic planning. And maybe we'll get together before the next board meeting.
Awesome, thank you. And I also, since you just said that, Todd, I also say that strategic planning is also planning on meeting in person as well too. So it'll be nice to see everybody, and kind of as we slowly maybe transition into having a board meeting in person with all of us. Okay, Sarah, kicking it over to you after those updates. If you want to do a quick, please, 1 minute.
Yeah. Okay, so just a reminder, the recruitment group needs to select their own chair. The Sarah Cheetah, as a reminder, can't be that person. So that leaves either David R. L'Oreal or Jerome to serve that role. So arm wrestle it out amongst yourselves. Please let me know so that can get updated. All these groups are invited to attempt to schedule this around my schedule, or to just provide minutes. So it's up to you guys how you want to operate, but I am available to meet with all these working groups if you want me there. So just a reminder, new board members were provided with an online PDF fillable conflict of interest form. Please fill that out and get it back to me. If you need it to resend, I'll find it and I will send it again. I don't remember what our policy is, actually, if board members need to fill it out every year, but typically the way a conflict of interest works is you submit in writing if you think you might have a conflict of interest on anything the board's discussing. But if you're sitting in a meeting and a topic comes up, like we're gonna give, I don't know, the Realtors Association a grant for $200,000, and you're like, oh my God, I'm a realtor, I might have a conflict of interest. I want to declare it. So basically what you do in a meeting is you declare, I think I have a conflict of interest. The board then discusses, do you have a conflict of interest, and decides if you should basically recuse yourself from the vote, or if you can stay as part of the discussion, or if you should leave completely, or if you can be allowed to vote on it. So just saying that you have a conflict of interest does not mean that you can't have a conversation about whatever it is. Basically, what we want to know, you all have a stake in the neighborhood, but if you're a member of a church in the neighborhood, or if you're a partial owner of a business in the neighborhood, or if you run a nonprofit that we're doing a project with, those would be the types of things that you would declare on paper. We probably should take time. I believe the last group really had no conflict of interest, but maybe we could just take a moment and declare if anyone thinks they have any. But basically, the conflicts of interest arise during the course of a year during discussions, usually related to funding.
And I also would say that those forms are intended for people to like publicly disclose conflicts of interest. So if you like, I think we can do that now. Also, like, please, we should be filling out those forms. Or if you kind of have like a change of scenario, as probably I should fill out another form, Sarah.
Yep, you should.
As taking a new job. So yeah, so I would say like we should use those forms and they should be available to every board member, so every board member understands if there's conflict of interest with other board members. So so it's not, I work for the park board now, so you know, we deal with the park board a lot, and so that would be a conflict of interest. So
it could be
it could be a conflict of interest. Yeah, thank you. So I'm maybe just in the sake of time going to leave it there, if that's okay, Sarah, and just say, please, if you are an existing board member or especially new board members, please fill that out. If you're an existing board member who's had a scenario change, or you feel like now that you've been on the board better understand maybe where some of those things lie, please fill out another form. And Sarah, if I'd maybe just ask you if you could make those, like, reiterate where those forms are so that board members have access to everybody's conflict of interest.
Yep. So following this meeting, I'm going to try to do some sharing with you guys. There's something crazy in like the nesting of Google folders. Sometimes I want to make sure that you guys are accessing the top level, which would then give you access to all of the board packets throughout the last few years and the conflict of interest forms and stuff. So it might take a couple tries to get the right level to you to make sure everything's available. So bear with me.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. And since we're falling behind a little bit, I'm going to kick it straight over to Katie to kind of talk a little bit about some of the strategic planning updates and also some kind of asks that we have of board members around outreach. Thanks, Katie.
I'll be fast. I put a document in the chat. This document is for us to all take a couple minutes and think about people in the neighborhood who we want to share our survey with. After this meeting, I will share a sample email draft that you can use to reach out to people. The point of this is we made this survey. Everybody gave input on it, I think 3 board meetings ago now, and we've launched it. We have about 40 responses. We want 400 responses or more. Our goal is to have a representative sample of the neighborhood, and we have goals around that, both about who the people are who fill it out, renters versus homeowners versus other constituents, race and age. That's in the survey itself. And part of how we're going to do this is, and I think we'll get an update from Sarah LR about if the person we're hiring to do organizing in the neighborhood will do some canvassing to especially make sure we're targeting like less represented folks who might not be on the email list, renters, etc. And we also just want to make sure we're actually like sending it out to people who we're connected to and asking them to fill it out, make sure they know about it, and ask them to share it with their networks in the neighborhood. Because part of the goal is not just to get people's responses, but that doing this survey is an opportunity to make sure people know we're on the board, make sure people remember that the neighborhood association is a thing, be like an educational opportunity. The other thing I'm going to ask is that we sign up for shifts. If all of us can do a shift at the farmers market between now and the end of the farmers market. I'm going to say a little bit more about that in a second, but I'm just going to pause for right now for like 1 minute for us to all just think about who do we know in the neighborhood, who we're going to invite. And I would say especially people who you think like they know others. So folks who it's like they're connected to a school, an organization, they're an informal block captain or a formal block captain, et cetera. To be sure that like those type people are spreading the word about the survey to their communities as well. Setting a timer for 1 minute.
Yep. And just to be totally clear with everyone, we're asking you to like physically put it in that document right now. So type
Yes.
into there your brainstorms.
Because we want to make sure we're like don't have 5 people reaching out to certain people and that we're covering good ground. So let's take, timer has started.
So you're asking us to who we could give the survey to get more people to fill the survey out.
Exactly.
And then I'm sure I took the survey. I can't remember it exactly. So you're just looking for like, okay, give this link to people kind of thing or something
Exactly.
like that. Okay.
Yep. And I have a sample email I'll send so everybody's got that
Okay.
you can use. You know, Becky, it'd be awesome if you, I don't know if you in some way track the people who come to the Bridgel. It'd be super awesome if you shared it with Bridgel folks.
And so it can be individual people or like people who could send it to other people, right? Like Grand Avenue Business, or like Business Association would send it to the Grand Avenue businesses. So yeah.
Somewhat, so I had put churches, is that not okay? Someone just deleted mine.
That might be because of the chaos of us all doing this at one time.
Okay.
Churches seem great.
Even better than churches would be if you have a contact at a church that knows you, that you will email and they read your email and they'll share it. Better than a generic.
All right, our 1 minute timer is up. Feel free to keep typing. I'm going to just explain the invitation to doing the farmers market, which is that it's so cool that we have a farmers market in our neighborhood, and many people on the board have identified how that's an opportunity just in general for people to learn about the neighborhood association. But then especially with this survey, it's an opportunity for us to be sure we're getting the survey out to Kingfield neighbors who go to the farmers market. So here's our proposal, is that we have 2 of us sign up and attempt to cover as many of the weekends of the farmers market as we can. And then with your buddy, you make a plan for when you're showing up. We do not expect people to cover the whole 4 hours of the morning. It's probably most fun and nice to go at the same time as your buddy. But if you two, once we all sign up, if you want to be in touch with your buddy and make a plan, we're going to go from 11 to 12:30 or something, that is great. And we will then share directly via email the details of like the printable version of the survey and what you need in order to actually do the surveying at the farmers market. The goal is to be a presence at the farmers market and be inviting people to take the survey. We will have a printable paper version since that's easier, and then we can input the data on the back end. We also have little flyers to hand to people to have them go home and do the survey, but we want to super emphasize trying to have folks do the survey actually at the farmers market, since it's far more likely that they'll do it. So same thing, I'm going to put this link to a sign up in the chat. And if you could pull up your calendar and think about which Sunday you could do a shift, that would be great.
Can I clarify, Katie, that we're asking people to the ask will be to allow you to browse the market instead of be tied to a table? Wasn't that the ask?
Yeah.
The goal. Knowing when you're going and how many people are going will be important for me to connect you to Emily, so that she's not like, who are these random people wandering through the market?
I'm seeing some signups. That is awesome. The timer has gone off. So just to reiterate, we want to be spreading the word all over about this survey. I'll send that outreach email draft after this meeting. I
Katie,
will.
Katie,
Yes.
I asked for edit access so I could fill it out.
Oh, okay. Let me make sure. Weird.
Hey, Katie, is the link for the farmer's market going to be available? I just need to check with my husband before I put anything on for a Sunday or I'm going to be in trouble. So
1000%. And we'll send
Cool.
it out after. Yeah.
thank you. I'll take a look at it after I chat with him.
That would be great. That would be helpful to do. Same thinking.
And like I said, even though this sheet was made to help us sign up to support the setup for the farmer's market. But if you end up just being in touch with your buddy about the time you want to go, like I said, we just want some amount of time covered. And I'll send out information to everybody about how to think about using that time and the materials that you need. And I assume that Sarah LR, you're going to be able to help us make copies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay.
And I would say the secondary goal of this, all of you, is we want the survey done, but this is also like a good task for you to get to know someone else on the board. So make a plan, go together, talk about weird questions that came up or things that you weren't expecting. Let the planning team know if people are misinterpreting a question, because we could change it. Yeah, so.
Great.
Thanks, everybody. I think it's going to be really awesome to have all these results from our neighbors and their thoughts and feelings and opinions. So thanks for helping make it happen.
And exciting to talk to people in person. That'll be, get out and see everybody. It'll be very nice. So also know, I think strategic planning will follow up with folks. Kind of, yeah. I don't mean to harp on this, but the expectation is that people sign up for at least one shift. So we're gonna follow up with folks if that isn't, if for whatever reason it doesn't work for you, just let us know and we can kind of talk through that. But Todd, I see your hand.
So you're going to send out a link to that sign up sheet, and you're also, is there a link to that survey that I can share with people somewhere?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I'll reshare that and I'll put it in the chat right now too.
Will you send it out in email? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Just for the sake of time, thank you everybody for participating in that. And please, the other thing that I would just say is I know one of the things was like the Facebook group. As you see stuff from KFNA, especially things like this, where we're trying to get neighbors to participate, please like boost those things in the ways that you can, like on Facebook, liking them or even commenting on them, being like, please do this. This is really great. Like I think that really kind of increases visibility and stuff to this stuff so that we get more neighbors kind of seeing it and participating. So again, yep, sorry, Sarah, go ahead.
And it has been proven that if KFNA generically posts something, it gets way less attention than if one of you does.
Yep.
So just having a real person that other people know posting things helps.
Yep. Thanks, Sarah. For the sake of time, moving on to the next agenda item, equitable engagement plan task force. Sarah, I believe this is all you on this item.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I don't have a ton of information because we have another meeting about this with the city tomorrow at 11:30. So this is the new funding stream that neighborhoods are eligible for from the city. KFNA's allotment for this year was given to us and wrapped into our CPP, our community participation plan. The allotment for this year, I believe, was about $4,000. Next year, we're trying to understand an engagement plan. There's a template link that I gave you. There's about an 8-page process and requirement to receive about $8,000 from the city. What we're supposed to do with these funds is identify an underrepresented group in the neighborhood and figure out how we are engaging them in the organization, in leadership. So that's the plan that will be put together. Our plan has hinged pretty heavily on hiring an organizer who can help us focus attention on rental areas with more rental housing in the neighborhood, starting their outreach that way, just to get inputs from those people. If we don't hire an organizer soon, we will have an interesting fall trying to figure out how to get that input. Unless there are different populations that the board wants to identify that we want input from. I will say that some neighborhoods are focusing on seniors. Some are focusing on renters. Those are the two primary groups that I've heard being called out as underrepresented in organizations. I think that you can make the assumption from what we know of city demographics that when we focus on renters, we're also focusing more on people of color. And that would be true in Kingfield as well. So that's why I've been leaning towards that as the focus of this. So where we're at is we need a draft plan by September 1st. We don't have another board meeting before September 1st. So ideally, there would be a group of 2 or 3 people who would be willing to review a draft plan. I guess if no one's really crazily interested in this, we could have it fall to the executive committee that would approve this draft plan before it's submitted. I don't know why it's being submitted as a draft. I'm sort of confused. I think it's because the city doesn't actually know what they want to receive. And I'm not quite sure how much time we have to revise it. I think we have a month or 2 because we're really preparing a plan for the 2022 year, 2022, next year. So is this a topic that really speaks to anyone?
Because your question, Sarah, specifically to board members, if you'd be willing to like review a draft plan and beyond kind of like task force and provide maybe some input on the front end on some specific like ideas around organizations or populations that we want to make sure that we're focusing on.
Or maybe this is just a natural fit for the recruitment group to review.
Yeah, I'll volunteer the recruitment group if there's no one else in particular who's interested. I mean, like I said, we don't have that much to do after we finished up the annual meeting, so.
Yeah, we could do it as a team.
Shoulder this burden.
That sounds great.
Sounds great.
Okay, perfect. Anything else on that, Sarah?
Nope.
Awesome. Thank you, recruitment group, for doing that. And if there's anyone else who has any input on that or ideas, I would just say that isn't on the recruitment group, please share those with the recruitment group, share those with Sarah on the front end. So That'd be great. Next agenda item, talking about National Night Out. We hadn't really, Sarah, you kind of alluded to this a little bit on the at the beginning of the meeting. I guess maybe I'd like to give a little bit of an introduction on this, and then we can have, this is really a point to have a discussion with the board about what we want to do with National Night Out. National Night Out has been a big part of KFNA in the past as really an organizing tool for getting out and meeting neighbors, collecting surveys we've done in the past. We share ice cream, which has kind of become a little bit of a neighborhood tradition. So that's kind of the positives of National Night Out and how we've approached it in the past. National Night Out, as it operates, I think nationally, and as it operates here in Minneapolis, is a police sponsored, an MPD sponsored event. Folks submit their blocks to MPD, to the community, what used to be Community Outreach Office of MPD, and that's how they get their blocks officially closed down. We haven't, and I maybe Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong in this, haven't really had much of a relationship with the community, the outreach staff, with the exception of they used to come to our meetings to give updates, but really the extent of our relationship with them in terms of National Night Out was getting the list from them of the blocks so that we knew where to go and knew where people were going to be out so that we could distribute ice cream to them. I will say, this is an opinion of me, and it's been a part of this organization for a while. I am not excited about a KFNA participating in a police-sponsored safety event in our neighborhood. I am excited about the opportunity that an event like this offers for doing outreach to residents and citizens. So it's kind of this weird mix of things, and so that's why we're bringing this up to the board to see how we want to approach this. This is happening, or it's planned. Sarah, can you give me the exact date on when?
August 3rd.
August 3rd. So it's happening quickly, and how KFNA participates it, how we do outreach at it is kind of up to this board, and really the responsibility of this board to provide direction to staff and also to participate in whatever we do. So Sarah, do you want to give any other kind of introductions to this topic?
I would say although it is a police sponsored event or a crime prevention strategy, I would say it's a crime prevention strategy in the way that KFNA has been approaching safety in the last year, which is getting to know your neighbors is the best way to create a safe community. I would also say that we have never gone to the police to get the list. Somehow the list is posted on the city of Minneapolis, and a few days before the event, I can go in and access it and sort it by neighborhood and put that together. There is this weird nuance that I'm still trying to understand between the community crime prevention specialists, who are not police officers, who used to be housed in the precincts, who have now moved to the same department in the city that neighborhood associations also answer to, which is neighborhood and community relations. And so I don't know if that's just a smoke and mirror thing of moving police budgets, or if it somehow changes the relationship of the CCP safe officers to the community, to the city, and to the precinct. And those answers I don't think I'll have before this National Night Out.
Thanks, Sarah. So I guess with that kind of introduction and that said, laying out maybe just quickly the options that we have, and then we can kind of jump into a discussion. KFNA cannot participate at all in National Night Out, which would include not doing anything, not going out and meeting neighbors, because we know these events are going to happen. We can go and participate in the way that we would normally participate, which is really as a community outreach program, and use this opportunity when neighbors are gathering to get folks to fill out the survey, talk about our strategies around safety beyond policing, which is what we've been calling it. Meeting neighbors, connecting with folks, all of the kind of the strategies that we've been using here in, in 2020 and 2021. Yeah, those what I think, or some sort of like combination of all of that. So I guess I would love to hear from other folks on what their opinions are, what their ideas are, and how we want to move forward here in a pretty short timeline.
I do have a quick question. So when the first time I went to National Night Out, I was really surprised when a police car rolled up and I was kind of confused. I was like, wait, are they coming to shut down the block party? So I'm wondering if we participate, are there going to be police officers that stop into each block, and what does that look like? And how would we, if like we go with that third option of saying like, we're going to participate, but be a community outreach group, how do you disentangle from that? Just wondering about the logistics of, will there be like officers going to each party then if Kingfield participates?
I don't think we have an answer to this. We don't know.
Okay.
I will say that the presence of police, especially in Kingfield in the past, a part of National Night Out, has been extremely limited. But I can't tell you that it's going to be more, that it's going to be less. Don't know.
Yeah, I have to say in the past, God, 10 years, I think we've had the police at our block party one time. How they came or don't come, I have no idea.
They have access to the same list. So I believe they can go where they want, but I do know that block leaders can also request them. So a block leader could request a fire truck or a police car, and if they're available, they can come. So that might have been a special request at that time. I don't know if you can request to have them not come. Probably not. But I also know that other people have access to those lists, which is how like politicians show up at National Night Out. So I don't quite know who gets those lists and who doesn't.
So is ice cream out of the question?
Ice cream has not been initiated yet.
Is that something we normally just buy from Sebastian Joe's, or how does that happen?
So typically we have a deal with Sebastian Joe's where we somehow through the last few months have created a flavor of the year with them, and we reveal it before National Night Out, and they usually make one batch for us for free, and we end up buying another batch.
And they're still here in Kingfield, right? Same
They
place.
are. So it costs us several $100s.
But I'm guessing now it's already the middle of July. Is that even a possibility anymore?
We'd probably just pull something off the shelf or find an old flavor we made with it. We can always do nickel and pothole.
And I also just will say that executive committee has discussed this a little bit in terms of like, not in terms of what ice cream we get, but in terms of the logistics of COVID and scooping ice cream. If you've scooped ice cream as a part of National Night Out in the past, it is the dirtiest and messiest thing that you could do in your life. And so you're gonna touch people's ice cream. And so like, whether we want to change how we operate in terms of that, I think speaking maybe a little for the executive committee, and correct me if I'm wrong, BJ or Alice, like I feel like we weren't super comfortable with that. And even just the optics of it, of like serving ice cream and then going to another place and serving ice cream and going to another place. It's yeah. So you leave very sticky when you do it. So
I just feel like that's a really good way to get people to, I just know when that happened on our block, it was like a magnet. And so it was really a good way to start talking to people. I mean, isn't there something else we could do, like hand out a cookie or, you know, something that's far more, and especially if you're going to get it from a couple of local businesses. So you're promoting some local businesses. It's just sort of a way to, and my other idea, and Sarah, I don't know if you know, like at Porch Fest, those green t-shirts were like fire. So I would be happy to take the green t-shirts around and try to sell them. If we have a lot of them, I mean, people were really liking those, especially I think people liked the white ones, but then they don't say Kingfield. So I think that was sort of something that people liked better is if they said Kingfield on them. So that might be another thing. I'm willing to do that. And people really seem to like those.
I like the idea of cookies, Becky. I feel like we've got a lot of places in our neighborhood who could make cookies,
I
right?
know, and I always feel like we hit Butter up or he does so much, like, would be good to think of maybe somebody else, but, you know, just something that's easier to hand out, not nearly as messy.
Any other insights, opinions from folks? Maybe both about logistics and then just about like our participation and visibility at the event itself.
I was just gonna say on the ice cream thing, I mean, I think as long as people are comfortable serving and people are comfortable being served, I don't necessarily think it's that big of a deal, but that's just my opinion. And then I do think it would be a darn shame if we stop having any relationship with National Night Out. I've said it before and I've said it again. I'll say it again. National Night Out is the only day of community policing in the United States. And I think we should be encouraging more of it as opposed to less of it moving forward with cops. But that's my opinion. But yeah.
Yeah, I think this event's going to happen with or without us, and we can be a part of that conversation, or we cannot be part of it. I would be inclined to be a part of it, and I echo what David said. You know, it's in some ways ironic that it was created by the police department, because it is really a great example of what safety beyond policing looks like. The whole event is about community creating safety. And honestly, I didn't even know it was a police event until a few years ago. I think I don't think that's why most people do it. I think they do it because they want to see their neighbors. And so I think using it as a way to build community and also to start having those conversations as what can a different model of public safety look like makes a lot of sense. And we're not the only people thinking that. It looks like one of the block captains posted on the Kingfield neighborhood Facebook group that he's thinking about things like that as well. So I think there might be an appetite for things like that.
Do we have sort of a formal statement of the neighborhood association's position on community policing or police in general that we could have with us if people go out that night to different blocks? You know, we always have a table out with information and, you know, signing up with new neighbors and all that kind of stuff, just to say like, hey, this is what we would like to see it look like, or I don't know, something like that we could give to people.
I think I'm freezing. I would say we have a lot of statements I think that we've made or passed or resolutions in the past year and a half. I don't know if any would directly address this, but I'm sure we could, or if the board was comfortable with the executive committee, you know, writing a brief thing that says, this is what we're doing, this is why we're participating, this is what we hope folks get out of it. I think that's a great idea.
And even stating, you know, it's problematic maybe to have this relationship with the police department for a lot of people, and we understand that, but this is what we want the night to look like, or what we hope to see come out of it. Something along those lines.
Yeah, that was going to be my question as well. I think people would just find that clarifying. I found on my block like clear confusion about what is possible, what the relationships are with the police or not with National Night Out. And I actually think people would just appreciate sort of like an explanation, and then also like some options for how to think about it and how we think about it.
Okay. Any other input or insights? I think that's all really good feedback, and maybe the staff direction, Sarah, is both maybe you and executive committee can work on maybe something that is a little bit of an explainer that follows some of the policy that the board has passed in the last year and a half in regards to policing and public safety. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so two things. I'm thinking that something shorter that sort of ties in both what David and Josh were saying, a short statement about National Night Out. National Night Out is about community creating society or safety by knowing each other. something simple like that could just be the takeaway. And then I'm thinking about the negotiations of ice cream. I think I'd like to recommend that we do something simpler this year, like cookies. And in part, I'll say right now, that day looks incredibly complicated. I might have to be in Chicago that morning. And so I don't know that I'll be back by the evening. So even figuring out ice cream scooping seems like, whereas if we can just pick up cookies, that will be easier.
Sarah, if we have a budget that we have to work with or something along those lines, so if we're going to ask for some kind of donation and then we'll buy something in return, picking up cookies and getting them to people that night, I'm totally happy to do that. So let me know what you need.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. I think we'll start with some asks. And maybe we'll tie that into our election ask. We'll do a double ask for National Night Out and for Election Day because they're the same people that will hit up. So.
Awesome. Okay, I think that's good direction. I think we'll share with the board whatever that kind of like statement and maybe we've provided some links to additional resources. I know to the block captains and stuff have been doing a lot of different work. So I think we have some of the base of that information ready and some of that clarifying stuff. So I would argue that should go out if we can provide that to the block captains and maybe are dropping that and also are providing that ahead of the event so that folks understand KFNA's role as a part of National
Yeah, we're
Night
like 3 weeks from there now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Okay. Any other, just because we do have 8 minutes left, any other quick comments about National Night Out or especially major concerns that anyone wants to share? Otherwise, we can also have those discussions offline as well too. Great. Sarah, you have a very abbreviated staff report section.
I don't have any report.
You have, do you want to talk, you have hiring? Do you want to talk?
Okay, I do have a report. Tomorrow night, garden tour, 6 to 8. If you haven't seen the map yet, go to kingfield.org. It's at the top of the page. There's 27 sites. As I was telling the recruitment team, feel free to wear your Kingfield t-shirt, introduce yourself to the host, read the bios before, you'll know the host names. You can pick out the sites you want to go to. Just introduce yourself. Thank them for being part of the event. Make sure they know they're invited to the party next Wednesday behind Butter. Ask them what they like about Kingfield. Ask them the survey. I don't, so I'm encouraging you to do that. As far as hiring, I made an offer to an individual today. They are taking a few days to think about that offer. I'm super hopeful they take it. It would be great. If they do take it, we should be able to launch with door knocking and outreach maybe by National Night Out, which would also be awesome, especially if I have to be in Chicago. We submitted and do not have an answer yet from the city on our collaboration funding request with LNA for the equity and justice position. And I tried doing outreach to partners to get some of these partnership grants in. I was not successful getting any from Kingfield to apply for funding this year. So the two partners who I was able to meet with, Incarnation and Aliveness, both said they'll consider it for next year, but they couldn't operate quickly enough to come up with a project for this year. That pot of funding will continue to grow. I believe the city will learn a lot about what works and what doesn't. That doesn't mean that the city should be in the role of being a grant provider as they are acting in this. They don't have the expertise, nor do they have the staff resources to pull it off. But it is the way that they are moving. And so it would be good for us to keep on the lookout for groups doing good work that we want to work with, that we're inviting to come into the neighborhood to do work with us, so that we're accessing some of that organizing money through them. That's it.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you, Sarah. And thank you for doing it quickly. Moving on to the last agenda item for new board members. What we do at the end of each board meeting, just to kind of like quickly share and understanding that everyone is kind of participating in our community in a lot of different ways. Things, whether they're personal updates, whether they're things that you've seen, things that you're excited about in the neighborhood, or, you know, kind of different things you'd like to share with the board. It can be 5 seconds, 30 seconds long, whatever is totally great. So I will kick it off, and Katie, you became the top of the list. So sorry, you have to go first, if that's okay.
Josh and I are connected with some folks from other wards, other neighborhoods who are working on house parties about the charter amendments. And there's a lot of Kingfield neighbors who are interested in doing that. And if anybody on the board is interested in being connected to that, let me know.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. Becky?
Oops, I have a question, a reminder, a question. Katie, can you please send that link out to the survey? And I would be happy to blast my block and the next few blocks of email addresses I have and everybody else I can think of in Kingfield to send it to them and ask them to take it.
Cool. Thanks, Becky. I'm next. Kind of personal update. After working in and around the park board for a very long time, as I mentioned earlier, took an official position at the park board. So I am now working at 38th and Bryant, so really close to the neighborhood, which is really great. And leading up kind of my official title is projects and system manager for the park board. So leading up projects, doing a bunch of piloting of mostly kind of incremental improvements and things around parks to try to figure out how to especially maintain what we have in a better and more equitable way across our entire system. So that's my update. Alice.
A neighbor of ours that I've been concerned about as the rent moratorium is ending was able to get some money, at least to get her through the crisis from the school board, actually, from Minneapolis schools. So there are a lot of resources out there. We should make sure people we know who might be vulnerable are aware of the different places you can go to get money, but she got money from the schools.
Awesome. Thanks, Alice. I might ask you specifically about that because I just got an email from a neighbor asking about different resources. So if you could send that to me, or you know what that is, that would be great.
Yeah, it happened in kind of a funny way, but I'll be happy to talk about maybe we can share what we know, because I'm not sure that this is the end of it either. So
awesome. Thanks, Alice. Josh?
Yeah, so I am leading a multi-neighborhood team that has the goal of educating people about the various charter amendments that will be on the ballot this fall. We're still kind of in the planning stages at this point, because we figure most people are enjoying their summer right now rather than thinking about the election. But we are hoping to have more events probably in September and October to educate people about the charter amendments, and also maybe have some forums for different sides on various amendments to speak to people and present their case. So we'll be meeting again on the 26th and working out some more of the details on that.
Awesome. Very cool. Brighton.
My personal update is I just finished my first Kingfield Neighborhood Association board meeting. I'm gonna stop at the office tomorrow and pick up a t-shirt and some flyers from Sarah and kind of walk around to a few neighbors in my area to talk about the information meeting about the building going up right next behind Butters. So I'm excited to like get out there and start moving. I'm also probably gonna be reaching out to you, Josh, about the election thing. I know we talked a little bit when we met in person, so I'm just excited to be getting going. Thanks.
Wonderful. Awesome. Jerome, you're up next if you are still there.
Absolutely. Not much to update here. My family's been out of town for the last couple of weeks, which is the longest, I think, quote unquote, vacation or trip that we've taken that I can remember. So we just got back, and it was really nice to get back to Kingfield. That's basically my update. Atlanta's great. St. Louis is pretty cool, but it's always good to come home. And we were at a warm welcome from my neighborhood, so I appreciate that. That's it for me.
Awesome. Thanks, Jerome. L'Oreal?
I don't have much to give an update either. I've just been like traveling after getting married and here for like 2 weeks, and then I'm traveling again. So I guess I am now on the President Student Commission of my university and got awarded a full-term scholarship. So that's pretty cool. And that's it for me.
Awesome. Thanks, L'Oreal. Were you married at our last board meeting, or did you get married in between this board meeting and the last one?
I don't remember. When was our last board meeting?
I don't think you were married last time. So that's
No,
a good update. Yeah, congratulations. David R.
Yeah, not much of an update. I'm just having a busy summer, and yeah, I don't know. Looking forward to seeing everybody in person in September. Is that going to happen? Is that the plan? Yeah, maybe. Well, hopefully. But yeah,
Yeah.
Ask Chris if the parks are gonna open.
yeah. Are they going to open? Or
You have to ask Chris.
oh, yeah, Chris, can you pull some strings there to make it happen?
Yeah, you've been in now, right?
We're crossing the thing we just talked about earlier. So
A conflict of interest.
in all honesty, I have no idea. No.
But no, yeah, it's I don't know. Looking forward to when we eventually reconvene in person. But yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, David. Todd?
Not a lot going on. I'm personally very happy it rained today. And because I'm really concerned about our tree cover and our streets and kind of just the green that makes Kingfield special. If you haven't watered your trees or shrubs, please get out and do it. And then also, if you wouldn't mind cleaning your drain on the corner, there's a lot of crap laying out there. I am thinking of kind of extendedly about community or neighborhood beautification. And just small gestures that help us keep this neighborhood looking and feeling like the community we want it to. So that's it. And if Chris, if you could make the fountain at the Rose Garden work again, I'd be really happy.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
We can talk about that offline. BJ.
I think most of you know I've been running the Kingfield Instagram. So I've been having the opportunity to meet a lot of businesses. And today I was at Wellness Minneapolis on 44th and Nicollet. And it is a cooperative of 10 different practitioners. They're delightful. And I had never been inside. So I was happy to meet a new business, and we'll be promoting them. I think they're going on the Instagram in 2 weeks.
Awesome. Thanks, BJ. And I guess last but not least, Sarah, LR.
So just Brighton touched on this. I will be in the office tomorrow. I have a meeting about the equitable engagement thing online from 11 to 1 for sure. If anyone needs to drop in and get a t-shirt that fits them, that would be like a perfect time to do it. And then I'll be out doing garden tour tasks for most of the afternoon. Todd, if you want to set up a time to talk in the next couple of days, just shoot me a message, and then I will try to make sure that I circle in. We need a chair for the recruitment group. And that might be the only board task I have remaining.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Sarah. And sorry for running a little bit over. We're at 9:05, so we'll finish up here really quick. And so just welcome again to new board members. Thank you for running. Thank you for being here. We're excited about your contribution and getting going on stuff. So it's great to see everybody. thank you again. And I'm sure, Sarah, the other update is you'll be in contact with everybody about participating at National Night Out and kind of KFNA's role at National Night Out, right?
Yes, and we'll have to pull together an executive committee meeting pretty quickly to work on language.
So please, board members, look for that email because we are going to ask that you participate in National Night Out in going around to blocks. So we should have talked about that more. But
Yeah, and just so everyone knows, what you'll get basically is a list of parties and a route. And normally what we do is we meet in person, we divide up the ice cream, and you're given a route with another partner or two, and you go to parties together. One of you basically hands out treats and the other one signs people up for the email list, or passes out the QR code for the survey or whatever we're doing. So
Should we
there's a
ask,
few things.
do you want any more volunteers to help with National Night Out from the neighborhood? Because I might be able to round up like 1 to 3 people. Is that helpful?
I think if this group is committed to doing this, it is very useful to have teams of 3 or 4 people at parties, or to break the lists into shorter groups so people can get back to their own parties. So yes, if everyone can recruit another person to go with you, it'll cut the work down.
awesome. Okay, cool. So look for that, everybody. And that'll be a fun kind of time to get out in the community. So thank you again for a great meeting.
All right.
And we will see you all shortly.
Thanks all.
Thanks, everybody.